Far Cry 4. Today we're going to be looking at some of the weapons that we're going to be using in the game that's coming out in November. It's not far away now, and I have to say playing this game at EGX on the PS4 has got me even more hyped for the game. Now, a lot of people have been saying that it doesn't look all that different from Far Cry 3, and I'd have to agree that the similarities between the two games are fairly evident, but we're getting to a point in terms of graphical gameplay and gameplay right now where I think it's very difficult to kind of differentiate between the two games, especially considering how Far Cry actually is as a game. It might be quite difficult for them to differentiate between the two. Between Far Cry 1 and Far Cry 2 it's probably a little bit easier because the steps forward in graphical capabilities, consoles, PCs and things like that, it was probably a little bit easier for developers to make these games a bit different. But nowadays I think that can be quite difficult. But without further ado, let's have a look at some of the weapons that we can expect to play with when this game launches. First up is the MG42. This will be superseding the MKG from Far Cry 3. A little bit of background about this weapon. It first came into use during the World Wars and was sort of referred to as Hitler's buzzsaw. And the reason for that is it can fire between 900 and 1200 rounds a minute. During World War II, this thing was sort of feared by all other armies. When you heard the sound of this thing, you knew there was something bad coming. I think it's really cool that it's in the game, and it sort of leads to me to thinking that a lot of the weapons that will be in Far Cry 4 will most likely be brought in from different areas, will most likely be sold in different ways. If you want to see where all these weapons are coming from, I will leave a description in the trailer that recently came out, and all of the weapons will be in there, but you can clearly tell this weapon's coming in from outside the game. Next up, the flamethrower, and this makes a return from Far Cry 2 and Far Cry 3. To unlock this thing, in Far Cry 3, you had to activate 5 of the 18 radio towers on the map. For those of you that haven't played Far Cry 3, basically, unlocking each radio tower allowed you to unlock an extra section of the map for you to explore, which also allowed you to activate different weapons that you could buy from the merchant and things like that. I can't imagine it being too much different in Far Cry 4, but having just played Bad Company 2 Vietnam with the flamethrower in that game, I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on this thing in Far Cry 4, just to see what kind of devastation I can really actually cause with this thing. The third weapon that we know about now is the auto crossbow, which is kind of a step up from the crossbow that was available in Far Cry 3. Basically, you can load this thing up with more bows than you could in Far Cry 3 because you could only put one in at a time, fire it, reload, fire it, reload, fire it. In Far Cry 4, it's an auto crossbow, so you can put more than one bow in it and fire it semi-automatically, which does sound quite cool, and in the gameplay in the background, I'm sure you've seen me using it already. Next up is the Vector 45 ACP variant. Now, this again was available in Far Cry 3. Are you sensing a little bit of a theme here? I guess you are. A lot of these weapons were available in a previous game, but that doesn't stop making them awesome. The Vector is extremely effective at close range. Its high rate of fire will absolutely decimate your enemy. This thing's been available in Call of Duty games for a long time, so if you've played any of those games, I'm pretty sure you're going to be familiar with the Vector in this one. Next in line is the P416, which you're probably familiar with if you've played Far Cry 3. This game was in Far Cry 3. You could unlock it fairly early on in the game, but there was a slight variant of it called the Bushman, which if you completed all 18 radio towers in the game, you got access to. The P416 is a variant of the M4A1 and is actually an improvement upon it. And we all know how good the M4A1 rifle actually is. In my opinion though, it would have been good to variate some of the weapons that we're actually seeing here. Overall, I don't think these are the only weapons that we're going to be seeing in the game. Obviously there's going to be much more for us to do and things for us to play around with, or at least I'm hoping that's the answer here. But it would have been nice to see some other weapons highlighted instead of the same ones that we've seen from Far Cry 3. I am a little bit disappointed, but overall, still really looking forward to using this weapon. And just a couple of things to finish up here. They're not really major weapons, and one I wouldn't really actually consider a weapon. Let's talk about that one first. they've highlighted this bait, and they're considering this a weapon because you have the ability to throw it out in front of the AI and wait for wild animals to come in and then attack the people that you've thrown it near to, which is a really nice touch. I think it's a really cool gameplay element, but I wouldn't really consider it a weapon. It can backfire. Let's say, for example, you threw it too close to you, the wild animal would end up attacking you instead, and you might have to go loud with another weapon rather than using what essentially is a stealth weapon here. Next up, the mortar, making a return from Far Cry 2, and the kukri, which is basically your melee weapon, or is essentially a knife. Now, there are going to be loads more weapons available in this game, but these are the ones that have been highlighted in the recent trailer, and overall, I'm really looking forward to Far Cry 4. I mean, I played it at EGX, and I had a really good time playing it. I played the same mission that you're seeing right now. I played it in 3 different ways, with the helicopter, I played it with the crossbow, and I played it with the elephant. So 3 different ways of playing the same level, which was really cool. It didn't look too great on PS4, I have to admit. It did get very intense during some stages, and I noticed drops below 30 FPS, but right now I can't really comment on that because it's basically a pre-release version of the game, and there could be lots of changes in there, and I haven't had a chance to play a later version. But as I say, overall I'm still looking forward to Far Cry 4 very much. But anyway, that's about it for today's video. I just sort of wanted to make this video because I'm really interested in Far Cry 4, and the last time I made a Far Cry 4 video, you guys went absolutely nuts over it, so I thought I'd make another one. But thank you very much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, make sure you leave a rating and a comment down below. But until next time, my name is Westy, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.